Hey, Pine Belt, thank you so much for being with us. About an hour ago, we had breaking news telling you that the Greene County Sheriff's Office arrested 37-year-old Drexler Johnson on charges of accessory after the fact and conspiracy in connection to the New Year's Day triple homicide. A lot of this information that we got, Pine Belt, came from our very own Trey Howard. So Trey, busy morning in the newsroom. Take us through when you first got the call of a tip.
So this was, like you said, maybe an hour ago, a little more than an hour ago. I got a call saying that there had been an arrest in the State Line shooting, and it wasn't necessarily, they think, the person who did the shooting, but somebody that was in connection with it. So I made a few calls there and got it confirmed with the sheriff's office. And it seemed like a lot of people in the community, we were making calls. Some of the reporters here were making calls to the mayor, to some of the supervisors out there. And they just had a town hall meeting about this a few nights ago, and everybody is wanting to know, what the step.
More questions. Like as soon as you get the tip, and as soon as we have the breaking news that there is an arrest, more questions come out of this.
Absolutely.
I remember I had a question in the newsroom for you, like where. I wanted to know, after 9 days of searching, where could they possibly have found this? Potentially the person that may have done this, and you were saying, I'm still getting information, they're still figuring out what to tell us and when. And
you can see how, like a small community like State Line, how many people are just invested in something like this, because since New Year's, people have been talking about Rhonda Denson and Lester Campbell and Jason Thornton, about how everybody, when I got there on New Year's, I got there probably 8 o'clock, and I can't exaggerate that. It's probably lowballing saying that 80 people were out there on scene. Yeah, just last night, the Mayor Miller, he said he estimated at least 100 people. Yeah. So with you saying 80, he's saying 100, it was probably maybe more than that, of people just at that gas station in disbelief as to what just happened to those victims right there you see on your screen, Rhonda Denson, Lester Campbell, and Jason Thornton. And when I got out there, it was a lot of people that say not only they knew these people, they knew Rhonda, they knew Lester, they were family members, they were first cousins, my sister is a cousin, they had those close family connections. And one of the people out there were telling me that Lester and Rhonda had recently gotten engaged. Lester would drop Rhonda off at the gas station early in the mornings and kind of sit with her before he went to his job. Even in Wayne County, people knew Rhonda from Wayne County because she worked in Wayne County. So it was people from all over, not just State Line. People were from Waynesboro coming over to just find out more about what happened in this small community where everybody knows everybody. Yeah, it was something that sent shockwaves through that community of State Line, and also broke a lot of hearts because, as you just said, a lot of people knew Rhonda. And speaking of those victims, we're told by our news director that Jason Thornton's funeral is today in State Line. Have you heard anyone talking about that, or maybe calling you about that? I know one of our reporters, I think Raven, she is headed out to State Line now, and she got that call because she was making some rounds, meeting up with people, and she got that information that the funeral was today. So I don't think she's going there, but she is meeting up with some people afterwards, just to talk about the developments we found out today, knowing that they got somebody in connection to accessory after the fact conspiracy, just to find out more what the temperature is, and if they know more, if they, or, what the feeling is, because people have been saying that they are worried, they were scared, they didn't know if this person was still in the area, because who would do something like this, and they were just, I think they're getting their steps figured out right now, and more people are just talking and trying to become more comfortable with the situation. Yeah, it's been heavy days out there in State Line. I know today is another heavy day, being that Jason Thornton's funeral is today, and I guess for his family members having his funeral today, and also hearing that there's a man charged in connection to that triple murder, it's probably mixed emotions, because like we said, there's still a lot of questions. Pine Belt, let's tell you a little bit about Drexler Johnson. Trey getting information, our newsroom pulling together as much as we could. We had one of our reporters, Abby, look through a lot of our stories and video, and we found some past information on him. Again, Drexler Johnson, 37-year-old, arrested this morning in connection to that homicide. Johnson first appeared in the news in November of 2007. What Trey knows about him and what we're finding out about him is Johnson was a star quarterback for the Wayne County High School football team.
And then after that, Johnson was charged with stealing weapons from Cooley's drugstore in Waynesboro in November of 2007. We have some footage there on your screen. Around 20 weapons were stolen, but later discovered. He was turned over to ATF agents and was held on a $100,000 bond. And Trey, we have some even more recent bits of information about him, if you can share that.
Right here on your screen, what you're looking at is from June of last year, 2024, when he was arrested in connection to a shooting death of 52-year-old John Harris Walker Jr. And here, actually, in the courtroom, this is the scene where he was released of those charges because the judge found insufficient evidence on those charges. He was charged on gunshot. Well, the authorities thought there was gunshot wounds, but then they found out later it was puncture wounds. And if you could see, he was wiping his face, he was wiping tears off of his face. And I remember the judge asking if he was crying because he got it off, or if he was crying because this is something that he had done or been charged with and he didn't do. And it was kind of mixed emotions because, as you mentioned earlier, he was a pretty well-known name. He was a star quarterback there. And I think there was a lot of hope for him moving forward because of his skills and what he did.
Right. And
the judge is one of those people that, is kind of the people that I'm tired of seeing you in here type deal.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Leaving out of there, I guess the thought was, is this something that is going to change you? And I mean,
when after the judge asked that, do we have any record of maybe him answering the judge, of answering that question?
What I remember is him sitting there and he wasn't able to speak. He was wiping his face and he was nodding his head, but he couldn't say anything because I think he was so overwhelmed with emotion that he couldn't speak. And the judge was kind of staring a hole into him, asking, this is the crossroad, like, where are you going from here, basically?
Yeah. And I guess maybe an answer to the judge's question as far as like, where do we go from here? Now we have Drexler Johnson arrested in connection to these state line murders. We want to make sure that we point out the charges are accessory after the fact and conspiracy. I don't know if my news director can hear me, if maybe we have that side of the sheriff explaining the accessory after the fact, if we can roll that for the Pine Belt.
After the fact, the meaning of that is providing criminal assistance to the homicides. I'm thankful to our community, the community's assistance for providing information, and I ask that anyone with more information to continue to contact our office.
And that's one of the things that when we spoke with Chief Deputy Brad Ward out there in Greene County, immediately they thought that the person who did this may have not done it alone. They had the video evidence there saying that the person stole a car and then that car was ditched maybe 4 miles down the road and you couldn't track where that person had gone. So they were pretty confident that someone else was involved in this incident.
And so they are, you spoke to the sheriff this morning, and I know Raven also a lot. We were making a lot of calls this morning, so maybe more than one person spoke to the sheriff this morning, but they are also looking for, like you said, someone else that could be connected to this as well. So Pine Belt, we are not saying that the sheriff's department in any way have told us or confirmed with us that they have their guy. They're just telling us that Drexler Johnson has been arrested in connection and charged with accessory after the fact and conspiracy. Those are the surveillance photos that we're showing you now from right before or when the triple homicide happened on New Year's Day. Going back to something, to what Trey pointed out to us in June of 2024, where the charges were dismissed in that hearing for first-degree murder of 52-year-old John Harris Walker Jr. The reason why those charges were dismissed was the victim suffered a gunshot wound, but the preliminary autopsy revealed the injury was instead a puncture wound. The judge said the charges were dismissed, but the case could be brought back before a grand jury. Now Johnson again has been arrested for this triple homicide New Year's Day at Clark's gas station, where 3 people were killed. Those victims are Rhonda Deason, Lester Campbell, and Jason Thornton. And again, we've been told that Jason Thornton's funeral is happening today. And Trey tells us that Raven Little is headed to State Line for that funeral and to continue to get information on what's next, because like we were saying earlier, now that this arrest has happened, it just brings up more questions.
Right. I was at the town hall meeting on Tuesday night, and I spoke with the mayor, and he was saying that, he was scared. He understands that it wasn't a very big room, but it was probably 50 to 60 people in there at 7 o'clock. They'd gotten off work, and they made the extra effort to come and find out from the sheriff's office, from leaders in Wayne County that had come over. They were talking about if they install some cameras or something like that in the future to, help with incidents like this that happen. And the main theme coming from the mayor is that he understands that people are going to have questions, people are scared, people are worried, they live out there, and it's not a huge community. So what do we do next? And the Raven's out there now. She's going to meet with the mayor, some of the supervisors for those answers.
And I know you keep bringing up that community meeting, and one thing that came out of that community meeting over the days of initially when this happened, the chief deputy says that a coward of a man committed these deadly shootings. So emotions were already high, caring about what happened in that community, caring about the people it happened to. It went from that to a $15,000 reward, excuse me, for tips, leading to a suspect or leading to whoever did it. And from $15K, it went all the way up, as of yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, to $100,000. And a portion of that was coming from the community itself.
Right. About 60,000 of it came from just the community. So that lets you know how much the community works together and how closely they are working together and wanting to see justice, wanting to see something done.
Yeah, and other agencies were in on this, helping to figure out what happened. I know it got all the way down to Jackson County District Attorney, and then Greene County never stopped working to figure out what happened, who could have done this, and now it's gotten us to this day, 9 days later. Drexler Johnson arrested in connection to those New Year's Day state line triple homicide. Trey, you did a lot of the work this morning and getting the calls. Is there anything that we're forgetting to mention in connection to this arrest?
I think we pretty much got it. I think the biggest thing was covering the fact that, like I said, Chief Deputy Brad Warwick thought early on that this was not a one-person job, like somebody else was involved. And they had calls in the past days that we reached back out to them, but they were just following leads that they had. And now I think, one of them came to fruition, and they can now follow that with the help of the community and the money that was put together to get a reward. So there it is. We have Drexler Johnson here, accessory after the fact, conspiracy. And as you was mentioning in the June 2024 case, he wasn't necessarily off of the hook for that. He could have still had that gone to a grand jury. And now he's in custody now in Greene County for this one.
Yeah. And again, Pine Belt, Drexler Johnson arrested in connection to these murders. The charges are only accessory after the fact and conspiracy. You're innocent until you are proven guilty. This arrest happening today, Thursday morning. And as Trey just told us, Greene County is looking for someone else in connection to this. All right, Pine Belt, thank you so much for being with us. We're going to keep working on this. We're going to keep making calls. Raven Little is also out getting more information, so stay tuned on air and online. Thank you so much for joining us.